Welcome to King Says So, a channel that advocates for one Africa, one land, one Africa, one language, one Africa, one currency, one Africa, one army. I wish to witness Africans all around the world united as one in our lifetime. Enjoy.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's your boy King 053, Mr. Easy Imali Eneng, and we're back at it again with another one, a very interesting one, ladies and gentlemen, where we have the Power of Privilege Committee in Parliament that suspended how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 members of the EFF. Guys, politics is a crazy game. Politics is a crazy game. We are not surprised, ladies and gentlemen, and nobody should be surprised because this is how politics actually work. You frustrate your opponent, you keep them busy, and you try to keep them away from the main thing that they are trying to do. Okay, so nobody should be angry, nobody should be surprises in the move of the the Parliament of suspending 6 members of the EFF. Remember, this was because of what happened on the 9th of February when the state president Cyril Ramaphosa gave the state address, national state address, and the EFF members, what do you call, a protest in Parliament, trying to disturb the whole thing. And it came to a point where the chairperson, the speaker, had to get security to take them out. Now, in that process of them being taken out, it was said that the ANC was not happy with how the EFF conducted themselves and said they have put the life of President Cyril Ramaphosa in danger. So that is where we are coming. But you should check the timing also. The timing is very important, where we are going close to the national elections 2024, but we need to disturb the EFF so that they don't have full swing in terms of their focus on what they are doing. For me, it's a petty what you call a petty hand for the ANC to play, because, as you know, they are 60% of that committee. The power of privilege committee, the ANC is like 61% of that committee. So whatever they're gonna decide, they're going to find the EFF guilty. I mean, the EFF is an opposition, so, and you know the trends in the ANC. If you don't vote with what the ANC wants, they're going to take steps against you. So we have advocate Tembeka, and Tembeka Nyan. He was he was in the hearing, and he presented a very good side to say, listen, the EFF can appear, the 6 members can appear in front of a committee that is predominantly the majority of them is the ANC. For interest sake, the members that were suspended is Julius Malema, that are going to be charged with this and possibly can be suspended. I think the worst case scenario is them being suspended for 30 days from parliament duties. Julius Malema going to be suspended. Floyd Shivambu, Komanis, Mwisane Ndlozi, and who else? Marshall Dlamini, and Vuyani Pambo, and Sinazo Tambo. Those are the 6 honorable members of the House from the EFF side that are being charged with putting the life of the president in danger. It's a very serious case if you think about it. But I just wanted to bring this one clear. I just wanted to bring this one through so that I don't make a mistake of missing such a big story, because I see the mainstream media is not covering it. Probably they'll cover it tomorrow, whatever. But you heard it first here that the EFF have got 6 members that have been charged with putting the life of the president on danger. That is dating back to the 9th of February 2023, when the president was given the State of Nation address. So you heard it here. It's very important that we hear this. I'm going to play a clip of Advocate Tembeka making a case in terms of the EFF, and then I'll come back and do a last review.
In this matter with Mr. Ramohale and Ms. Sekwe, Soekoe. We act on behalf of Mr. Malema, Mr. Shivambu, Mr. Ndlozi, Mr. Dlamini, Mr. Pambo, and Mr. Tambo. I presume that they are all present. Mr. Malema has already announced himself, and I've seen the name of Mr. Shivambu on the screen. And perhaps we should simply ask Mr. Ndlozi, Mr. Dlamini, Mr. Pambo, and Mr. Tambo to confirm their presence, because I've not personally seen them.
Can you do so, honorable members, as requested by Advocate Tembeka?
Thank you very much, Chair. Pambo. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Guyani Pambo here. I'm present.
Thank you.
Chair, I'm present, Marshal Dlamini.
Thank you, Dlamini.
That leaves Tambo and Mr. Ndlozi.
Thank you.
Chairperson, I'm here, Ndlozi.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I may then proceed, there are 2 applications that we've indicated we intend making. The first application is for the committee to appoint an independent chairperson who might either be a judge, a senior attorney, or a senior advocate to conduct the fact-finding inquiry, and the matter will then be remitted back to the committee for its final determination. That's the first application. The second application is for these proceedings to be postponed to either a date or dates in January or February. We will be indicating to our learned friends the week in January or February that would be suitable. Let me start with the first application, which is the appointment of an independent chairperson to conduct the fact-finding inquiry. Firstly, the committee is bound by the common law rule against bias. Now, we don't accuse the committee of bias, but what we say is that the common law rule against bias means that you as a committee cannot be a judge in your own cause, and that it is important that there should be no perception, reasonable perception, that you are biased against the EFF. Secondly, you are bound by the provisions of Section 12 of the Powers and Privileges Act. Those provisions require you to ensure that the proceedings are reasonable and procedurally fair. We say that the only way to ensure that there is reasonableness and procedural fairness is that you should appoint an independent chairperson to conduct the fact-finding inquiry. And thirdly, you are bound by the Constitution, and I did not say that, it's obvious. But the requirements in Section 1C of the Constitution require you to ensure that you act rationally. And we say that the only way to act rationally in these instances is to appoint an independent fact finder. So let me start then with the first of those 3 propositions, the rule against bias. Now, the rule against bias is part and parcel of the common law rule of audi alteram partem, which is generally referred to as the natural justice. What it contains are 2 elements. The first element is that you should give a hearing to an affected party. Obviously, you are giving us a hearing. We are not objecting to that. But the second one is that the person who hears the matter should not be biased and should not be reasonably perceived to be biased. The problem that you have as this committee is that you are majority, according to the calculations of my learned colleague, you are 61% ANC members. You are sitting in judgment of your political opponents, the EFF. You therefore hold enormous power over your political opponents. And the issue at stake is a political issue. You have obviously framed it, or the prosecutor has framed it, as a breach of the rules. But what is clear is that on the 9th of February 2023, there was a protest by the EFF against its political opponent, the President of the Republic of South Africa. Now, you may disagree with my framing of the issue, but that disagreement is of no moment, because what we argue is that the person who makes a judgment against the EFF must not only be independent, but must also be perceived to be independent. So we ask you to ask yourself the question, whether any reasonable member of the South African public will perceive a hearing in which the ANC stands in judgment against the EFF as an independent hearing, particularly at the fact-finding stage. Now, this is not the same issue as presenting a bill for voting in Parliament, where majoritarianism applies. And this is not the same issue as deciding whether or not the public protector should be impeached, where, again, majoritarianism applies. This is an issue whether or not political opponents of the ANC in Parliament should be judged by the ANC. And it has severe consequences, not merely among the people that I represent, it has severe consequences among the voters. The effect of the matter is that some people in this country, more than 1 million of them, have chosen the EFF to represent them in Parliament. And although when the EFF is here, they are members of Parliament, the Constitution itself recognizes that they are opposition members of Parliament. That is why there is a rule in Parliament that there is a leader of the opposition. It is a recognition that they don't lose their political identity when they become members of Parliament. So we say that if you continue constituting the committee in the current fashion, you will fall foul of the common law rule against bias, and your proceedings will be unlawful and unconstitutional. So that is why we do not ask that the matter should not sit. We've never made that request. But what we do, we ask that the matter should sit before a neutral, independent chairperson to determine whether or not the political opponents of the ANC are guilty of misconduct. The other consequence of this is that if you look at the penalties that may be imposed in terms of the Act, the most drastic penalty is a suspension for a period of 30 days. Now, what that means is that the EFF, particularly its leadership, and I act here for the top leadership of the EFF, you can remove them from Parliament for a period of 30 days. And if you were to remove them in Parliament on political grounds, not necessarily on misconduct, because we say that there will always be a stain that you are biased against the EFF because they are your political opponents. But if you remove them for a period of 30 days, what that means is that during that period, any deliberation, and it may even be a State of the Nation address next year in February, or it may be a deliberation on an important bill. But during that period, a significant part of Parliament that has been voted into by the public would not be able to participate, which means that this is not about Mr. Malema, but it is about the 1 million or so people that have chosen the EFF to be their representative in Parliament. So, argument one, we say that you should remove the stain of perception of bias against yourselves as the members of the ANC. Now, that, of course, does not mean you individually are biased. What it means is that the law regards you on a just perception basis as reasonably biased against the EFF merely on account of the fact that these are your political opponents. But even if you look at the nature of the charge, it simply strengthens the political bias. This is a charge ostensibly for threatening the president. But this is not just the president of the country, he is also the president of the ANC. You are also members of the ANC, and I accept that you are acting here as parliamentarians. But there is an uneasy feeling that you will protect your own president against the EFF. And that is why you have to remove that perception and appoint an independent person. That person may be a judge, they may be a senior counsel, they may be an attorney. But we cannot see the downside, we cannot see the harm. We cannot see anything that would be harmful to parliamentary autonomy and parliamentary rules if you were to appoint a judge to hear this matter. Section 12 of the Act does not prohibit you from doing so. It does not require you to sit as the disciplinary committee. It merely requires you to ensure that the proceedings are fair and the proceedings are reasonable and the proceedings are rational. And the way to achieve the object of the Act is to appoint a judge to conduct the fact-finding inquiry. So we say, as a matter of the common law, you are obliged to do so. And as a matter of the statute, there is nothing preventing you from appointing a judge to hear this disciplinary hearing. Secondly, are the provisions of the Act itself. I have already explained that those provisions of the Act requires you to ensure that the hearing is procedurally fair and the hearing is reasonable. It is unreasonable, it is procedurally unfair that you should subject the top leadership of the EFF to a disciplinary hearing that is presided over by its own enemy, political opponents. Particularly so because you, as members of parliament, are also witnesses to the incident. You are witnesses to the incident because this happened on the State of the Nation address. You've also made a decision to institute the charges. These charges were not independently instituted, they were instituted by yourselves. You've also made a decision to choose the initiator. And obviously, you've tried to choose the initiator on the grounds that he is independent, which we appreciate. Mr. Katz is an independent man and is a colleague at the bar, and we have a lot of respect for him. That is fine. But what we ask for is that in the same way as you have appointed an independent prosecutor who is truly independent and who is not political, you should also find it in yourselves to appoint an independent judge so that we can debate whether the EFF is guilty or not. There's no benefit to Mr. Katz to sit here and prove a case in front of the same people that are witnesses, same people that have decided to charge the EFF, and same people that will be making the deliberations. So in sum, on this point, you are the judge, prosecutor, and sheriff in one. That is just wrong at so many levels. It's wrong as a matter of constitutional law, it's wrong as a matter of the common law, and it's wrong as a matter of the statute. We have seen the rules that Mr. Katz is permitted to be appointed as a prosecutor, but we say that there is a reason you chose him. You chose him because of his unique characteristic as an independent man, and may I add, also an honorable man. We say you should do the same thing for the appointment of the chairperson. And there is then the third requirement, which is you are bound by Section 1C of the Constitution, and that section requires you to act rationally, and it requires you to act within the scope of your powers. We say the request we've made is within the scope of your powers, but it would also be consistent with the principle of rationality. And if you did not do so, you would be acting irrationally. And it does not mean that you will necessarily find the EFF guilty. You may well find them not guilty. But what you will never remove is the stain that political opponents of the ANC, if they don't please the ANC in parliament, will be subjected to a disciplinary hearing, which ultimately is deleterious to our constitutional order and limits the ability of MPs to be robust when they are inside the precincts of parliament. If the EFF is guilty, as seems to be the view, if Mr. Malema is guilty, let a judge tell him that he is guilty. He will accept that.
Yeah, with what Advocate Tembeka is saying, I think he's spot on, and I can hear from his body language, his voice tone, and facial expressions also that he's not worried that this case, that the ANC will actually win this case. But again, I tell you, it's politics, dirty politics. This is how you play them. This is why they're keeping Julius Malema in court for that firearm case. For 5 years, they've been keeping. The magistrate comes in the courts and she forgot her papers, sends the policeman to go and fetch the police. The police come back. No, there's 3 pages that are still missing. Then all of a sudden she can go and fetch those 3 pages herself. Then she walks a block away from the court to go, things like that. It's politics, guys. Politics are played like that. Let's not be what you call angry at it. Let's just watch it unfold and see what is going to happen. But there is definitely a sign that the ANC is very much intimidated by the EFF. They're not worried about the DA, Action SA, or Patrick Alliance, or they are intimidated that they actually might be fighting for the majority with this EFF, understand? So EFF is aiming for 10 million votes. 10 million votes is what the ANC got the last time. Is it possible? It's a far ask, but it's not an impossible ask. So we are to see what is going to happen. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I don't want to take too much of your time. So got a call. Looks like we might be fighting 15 December. It does not look like we might be fighting. We are fighting 15 December. We're fighting a very good boxer by the name of Brian Taser. So it's going to be a good scrap, guys. So if you are around in Bloemfontein, you want to see your boy King throw some hands, you are most welcome to come there. And if you are my YouTube subscriber, I'll make sure I'll get you in for free. Definitely. If you are in Bloemfontein and talk to me nicely, I'll see if I can't get tickets. But not all of you now. Not all of you must come now. Then I have to get 1,000 tickets. Just a few. Let me see. I'll give 5 tickets out for my YouTube fans. So thank you so much. And another thing that I wanted to address. Should I address this thing? Or maybe I should address it on another video. But there is something that is bothering me. I'm worried about what is trending for the South African youth today. You know, one thing I will respect about India is that they blocked TikTok from their country. You can't have TikTok in India. They don't have time for that nonsense. Why? Is because they understand how what you watch eventually influence what you become. You remember that famous saying from Bisa Josie, association causes assimilation. I mean, assimilation causes assimilation. Association causes assimilation. Who you associate with, eventually you will assimilate to be like them. So I see this Shebe shit or something like that, who has got 1 million views on a McG podcast, and I'm like, that's a good thing for McG and them. But what is it that our youth is taking out of this? This youth, 10 years from now, 15 years from now, when we are in our 40s and 50s, whatever, when we look back 10, 20 years ago, what is it that we're going to tell our children? What that is it that we're going to say our political assignment was in South Africa? Because I only see dancing, twerking, drinking, gangsterism, and all of those things are being glorified by social media, are being glorified by mainstream media. And you ask yourself, what, guys, do you guys get what I'm trying to? I didn't want to do a separate video for this. I'm just slotting it at the end. Maybe some of you will not see this, but those who see it, go in the comment section and tell me, what do you think about all of these things that are trending in the South African media, in terms of how it will impact the mindset of our children, or of the youth of today. You remember when we grew up in those time of the Yizo was so famous and everything. That thing of glorifying gangsterisms in school impacted our black public schools so much that the actors of Yizo were taken from school to school to try to tell the children they are only acting, that thing is not real life. That's how much it impacted the psyche of the children. And now I'm looking at these things, I'm like, what is going to happen to our children? What are our children watching on TikTok and Facebook and everything? Let me leave it there. Let me not go deeper on that. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. And our sponsor, Why Not Technologies, is also sponsoring. It's one of the actually shareholders of an MMA show that will be happening. Is it this week? This week, the 25th of November in Johannesburg. If you want to go there, tell me. Let me see what I can organize. If you are around in Joburg, and just go and watch them and see what they are all. I might just be there. I'm just weighing my options and clearing my schedules, but I might just be in Johannesburg this weekend to watch the guys do their MMA stuff. It's your boy King053, Mr. Easy Imale Nengi. We are hitting that 10,000 subscribers before the end of this year, no matter what. Type 10,000 Nomaganjani on the comment section, and I've got a surprise for you guys. When we get to 10,000, I'll have a surprise for you guys. So keep your name on the comment section. I remember every comment, guys, because I don't have a lot of subscribers, only 8,000. So I remember everyone was commenting. So I want to gift and celebrate with you guys when we get to 10,000. For me, that 10,000 feels like 100,000. I won't lie. It will be a big thing for myself. And if you want to celebrate with me and you've got some ideas, pop them on the comment section. Until we meet next time, don't forget to pray. And after you pray, stand up and go do your best so that God can do the rest. I salute you. Peace in Pan-Africanism. This episode was proudly brought to you by Black Heart Clothing. Black Heart Clothing, after the African spirit. For any inquiries and orders, please contact us on 068 473 6908 or email us on theblackheart@gmail.com. The Black Heart, the hustle continues.